if you're particularly interested in Shermans and in the Battle of the Bulge, I think this is a great kit. Hello, this is BJ from Hearns Hobbies, and I'm going to be looking at one of the latest Asuka model kits. The Sherman, well, they make a lot of Shermans. This particular one is the M4A3, which is the particular version that was in the Ardennes Offensive or the Battle of the Bulge. So this particular kit, now Asuka are very famous for their Shermans. They have a great passion for Shermans. They make quite a number of different kinds. Now you may not be familiar, but Shermans had quite a lot of different variations that most people wouldn't know. So there was the M4A1, and then it went through all different versions with different turrets, different suspension, and different gun setups. So this particular one is sort of late in the war. It's after the invasion of Europe by the Allies, and this is when the Americans were caught up in the Ardennes, surrounded by a lot of the Germans. Now this particular kit comes with figures by Tamiya, so it's a sort of bonus, so hence why it's got the Tamiya Asuka here. And let's have a closer look inside. Let's pop this over here. It's going to stand, maybe not. Let's do this. Let's stay there. All right, let's start off with, these are the figures. Okay, so the figures are a standard type of multi-pose figure. So they've got their torsos and legs, arms, heads, all molded separately. The idea behind that is more parts allows for more detail in the molding process. Then also allows you to easily modify the figures if you wish. So if you want to add different legs to this particular torso or a different head, it's quite easy to do so. Now these particular ones also come with these little bases as well. That's just in case if you want to build the figure and be able to maneuver it around wherever you like. But if you're building up a full static diorama, then you'll probably prefer to just have these pinned to the base surface. So there's the figures there. Now with the figures you get an accessory pack. So the accessory pack comes with the various weapons. You've got your combat knives, your pistols in the holsters, you've got the helmets, Thompson machine gun, shovels, backpacks. You've got a rifle with a rifle grenade. There's a BAR there as well, and some grenades. So you can choose the way you want to equip your particular figure, or you could even use some of those just as spares. Or if you don't use the figures at all, you can have these popped around the various areas of the tank. All right, let's see. There's a whole bunch of things in here. Now, all right, let's look at this. Now this, I guess, is a kit within itself. Now Asuka are also very famous for their 30 caliber and 50 caliber machine guns, simply because of how accurate they are and how they have molded them to be so realistic. So you've got the barrel here as a separate item from the main section here. So you can actually have these left apart to look like they're being serviced. But once you've got them together, they have an extraordinary amount of dimension. So you've got some ammo cases there as well. And then you've got the mounts. So there's a couple of different mounts. Ammo cases in various halves, and then you've got the handles as well. So they're very detailed in terms of how they get all the fine detail to come across. So they're super nice. So you can get these separately in 2 packs, as well as the 30 cals. Okay, so that's it. All right, this is another interesting part. So you've got the cupola for the tank commander. You've got the green that you can see there. So that's molded in an opaque plastic, obviously. Now the problem being is that if you mold in opaque, all these glass sections are also opaque. So if you prefer them to be clear, they do also have it included as a clear part. So that means you will just need to mask off all those clear armored glass sections and then paint the rest, and it'll give you that extra depth. Again, over here there's periscopes, and they're molded in clear if you prefer that as well, and they're on some of the hatches. So you've got options. All right, what have we got here? So this part here has got some of the smaller details. It's sort of generic type details. There's seats, there's spare track links, there's filler caps, there's some more periscopes here, You've got some lenses. So these are opaque lenses, although there's some clear lenses there as well in the previous part I had a look at. Some here looks like a fire extinguisher. And this is identical. So you've got some headlights here. So these are parts that will be used on, that's quite common across all Shermans, and I'm pretty sure they will include these sprues with many of their other Sherman kits as well. Okay, over here we've got a packet of spacers. So we'll get into that a bit later. So there's a whole bunch of different types of spacers marked A, B, C, D. Only the A ones will be used in this particular kit. These are used to fix the suspension height because this does have adjustable suspension. So if you want it all lock solid, then you use one of these spacers. Okay, over here we've got this small pack of accessories. Now this is part of their jerry can set, and they make very nice jerry cans as well. So again, you can see all the multiple pieces. You've got the handle separate, top separate, and you can see how the filler opening is a void. So you can have them open, or there's the caps there as well. You can have them all capped up. So there's 4 of those. Okay, what else got here? Okay, let's start with these sections here. So every piece of sprue I picked up so far has got really fine components. Okay, so they've gone through a lot of research and they've replicated as accurately as possible all these bits. Now, with these parts here, you can see this part here is, I think, the storage, the foldable storage rack at the back of the hull. So you can either have that closed or open in this particular kit. You got the 30 cal machine guns here, which are at the front of the hull. You've got some more cupola parts. Probably these are for the loader's hatch. Front hatches here, so for the radio operator and also the driver. These are probably, these are the flaps for this particular hatch here. And then another one would be for the driver's cupola. You've got various tools for the outside of the tank. You've got some front mud flaps, various towing hooks, handles, and then various reinforcing parts here which go along the side of the hull. And quite a few of these parts you won't use because these will be common as well through a few different Shermans. Okay, so here we've got some engine deck area. So this is the top of the engine deck. You've got the covers, the grills. You've got the hand pulls. They'll go on the hatches. And then various other parts I don't recognize so much, but would be for parts of the hull. So these sections here are for these covers. They go at the very back. Okay. All right, over here we've got the different length barrels to suit the 76. So for this particular 76, I think it'll be, actually I don't know which one it is. I think it's a longer one. So this is the high velocity 76, which is different to the 75. I mean, only 1 millimeter different, but a huge difference in terms of firepower. So similar to the Panther 75. You've got the mantlet there for the gun. You've got the gearbox housings. And then there's the main gearbox here as well, which is just fallen off at the moment. So that's that one-piece gearbox cover. And that's one of the things that made the Sherman really great, because the gearboxes quite often would need servicing, and that particular part was very easy to take off from the front end. Okay. All right, let's see. Let's look on these bits. All right, so we've got a bag of wheels and suspension components. So suspension is very, very complicated. It has actually working suspension bogies. There's different choices of wheels. So there's a particular wheel that works with this particular version. The others you'll use as spares. And you'll see the castings are very much look like a metal casting. So they've got the texture already in the plastic. And then you've got multiple pieces in here. So there's 3 sprue altogether. Now the great thing about this semi-working suspension is you can set it up so that it looks very natural on uneven terrain. And I think that makes some of these dioramas more realistic, because you can't imagine totally smooth surfaces during combat. All right, so from there we've got, that's a pretty obvious piece. So there's a turret. 2 pieces, you've got the cast texture already in it. So you've got your loader's hatch, and then also the commander's cupola. It's really very nice. Two pieces, they'll join, and generally the fits on these are very, very good. Okay, so there's that. All right, here you've got the drive sprockets. Again, you've got options, so they'll be for specific tanks. You've got the gearbox outlet here. And then of course you've got two sprues, so they're the same. And again, you'll have spares. Okay, then we're getting into the nitty gritty. Here's the top of the hull. So you've got the top and then also the underguard. So where the tracks will be. You got your driver's hatch, and then you've got your radio operator's hatch. Got a really nice little rivet detail around the ring. And then you've got all the weld seams as well, which are very, very nice. It always helps when all those details are done well. So there's the hull. Get this bit here. So this is interesting. This is the bottom of the hull. So quite often you see the bottom of the hull as a tub. What they've done here is they've been able to make the hull in various parts. It's all flat packed. And then you've got the bulkheads that go inside. So it's quite easy to actually add some detail if you want it on the interior. You can build a full interior if you wanted, and I'm sure you get third-party engine detail as well. These are the outside parts where you see the suspension will be hooking onto. Okay, then we get into, you got this section here. So the white is actually rubbery. So they're the poly caps. They would go inside the wheels so that when you press them onto the suspension, they can still rotate. And then there's a section of rubber here, which is cut up, and that's used for imitating the suspension springs for each bogie. So this is where you could either use a spacer to lock it up, or use the rubber so you can still move around. Okay, then here you've got the rubber tracks. So it's unusual to see rubber tracks these days, but these are a very well-made rubber track in that when they fold, they look very natural. Okay, of course, I mean, if you prefer individual tracks, you can buy aftermarket ones and put those on instead. But I think these ones work very well, and it's a lot easier to assemble. So these just glue up with regular glue, and they're the sort of tab section type ones, which lock together. Okay. All right, and there's one more piece we've got here. So we've got the decals. Might be a bit difficult to see because there's a protective sheet over them. So they've got worn markings, which look like they've been rubbed out, and then you've got freshly painted type markings as well. So I guess if you like, it's a bit like this one here. See how that's sort of worn off a bit? That's already been pre-done on the decal. And then over here, there's a bit of photo etch. And so these are the protective cages for the lights and other bits and pieces. All right, so they're all your bits. And then we've got the manual. Oop. Okay, so you already start off from the front. Got a little bit of history here. So these are the tracks which I was talking about. So rubber tracks, you just fold them across, and these sections just interlock and glue. So you start off by making the drive sprockets. So there's a particular type of drive sprocket to use for this version. And then the idler wheels at the back. And then this is the one-piece gearbox that's being put together. And there's that riveted part that holds it all together. You've got some tow cables here. So even just this part is already using quite a few bits and pieces. All right, so we'll open it up to this section. Okay, so this is going through the drive wheels. You've got the suspension arms being put on here, which will end up going onto the full bogie. So these are the sections of cut rubber I was talking about before. So you can put those 3 layers in there. So you've got working suspension, or you use spacer A to lock it all in place, and they'll make it all flat. I think the rubber is more interesting. And then this is where the full bogie gets put together. And then you've got these sections here which are pressing up against the rubber, and then they act on the swing arms. So this is the section I showed you before, which is the flat packed bottom part of the hull. So you see how all the bulkheads are all going together to leave these compartments. So you've got the fighting compartment, and then also there's the engine compartment. And there's that section at the back, which is the deflector, which you can have open or closed. All right, let's go over here. All right, so we've got the top of the hull here. You've got the back section, you've Got all the finer details like the air vent covers. You got the machine gun ball mount going in, and some, I guess, crane hook cables. There's a 30 cal machine gun going in, and then that's getting mated up to the main hull, and then also the front gearbox. Here's the sections where you've got the hatches with the clear periscopes. So they're getting put in. And over here we've got the mud flaps. So this is mainly all around the front. You've got the reinforced ring that goes around the machine gun. There's the travel lock for the gun, and then the covers. So here, these are the instructions on how to get the photo etched light protection cages put together, and then they just go over the lights. Over here you got the rear engine bay. So you can see here how the engine's fully open. If you get some third-party conversion parts, you could probably get an engine, pop it in there. Got the covers going on, and then you've got the grills for the top panels. Okay, so we've got tools going on the side of the hull. The bogey is getting glued onto the side with the tracks going on. You've got the sprocket there with the idler. What have we got here? We've got the finer details. You've got reinforcing plates going on. This is the storage bench, which is at the back of the tank. So you can either have it open or closed in this circumstance there. You got spare track links that you can put around the place. And these are the jerry cans. So with this particular kit, if you have this all open, you can have the jerry cans just sitting on top of the parcel shelf. All right, so the main gun's getting put together here with the mantlet, and then that's all put together with the turret. So you see here how the gun is hinged with the polycaps so that the gun can be elevated and lowered. You've got the armor and the open port here for the side of the turret. Got another gun mount. There's a ventilator cover actually, sorry, the mount there. You've got the cupola going on with the hatch. So this is showing the true angle that all this should be mounted. And then you've got the periscopes, they're going into the loader's hatch. Over here you've got the 50 cal machine gun. So as you can see, you've got with handle and without handle, you've got your options there. And all this actually, you have it all separate and it can look like you've got it open for servicing. Okay, so ammo boxes getting put together. This is in preparation for the mount on the 50 cal, and then you've got the actual mount here that goes onto the cupola, and here it is getting slid inside. Got a bit of ammo there they can paint up, and then this is showing you the mount at the back if you so desire. Okay, so we're almost there. So what have we got left here? All right, so there's the finer details at the back of the turret. Got some of these clips, handles, and then finally the turret gets mounted onto the hull. Bit of photo etch going down there, and then you've got your decal instructions and also markings there for regiments. So you can see here there's a worn sort of look of the decals put on there, or you've got the freshly painted look as well. And you got only the star, or you got the star with the border. Okay, and then from there you have the instructions on how to paint and construct the figures. So it uses all the Tamiya color codes, and then it shows you all the various part numbers required for each one. So really very nice. So if you're into Shermans, you can't go past Asuka, and this is one of their latest kits. If you're particularly interested in Shermans and in the Battle of the Bulge, I think this is a great kit. As you can see, there's so many parts that come standard with it. If you want to add extras, you can get tracks, maybe an engine, stuff like that. But if you build it straight out of the box, you get a really nice, very, very detailed Sherman.